Rebecca Miller, and I teach at Owensboro High School. We have English and reading together all day, every day.
And I'm Sarah Hagan, and I also teach at Owensboro High School. We are co-teachers, so I'm the special ed teacher. She's the gen ed teacher, and we've been in this role for about 4 years doing this. Yeah.
When we first heard PLC, we thought it meant pretty little co-teachers. Yeah, for real. I thought it was kind of like what we used to call PLCs, which was really just a department meeting, and we were like, and we had that impression. We were like, oh no.
And it was really overwhelming to me because I thought it was. I just couldn't follow along. I thought there was too many parts and pieces, and I was confused by it.
It was, and we were like, okay, follow this agenda, but we don't need to talk about this right now, or we already talked about that, or
it was a lot.
Hello, I'm Hannah Stephen. I teach in the CTE department. I teach Allied Health Science.
I am Tammy White. I teach alongside Ms. Stephen in the Allied Health CTE department.
We're going to talk a little bit about PLCs today. I think that we have really kind of taken on this PLC process head on, and we have, as a CTE department, our department's a little bit different because we all have our own kind of entities within the whole department. And so this year we have been able to make our PLCs smaller, and so it's just me and Tammy in our PLC, and so it's been easier for us to focus on our content and our curriculum at hand.
Yeah, we have some different curriculum, but we also share a lot of curriculum. So I think the PLC process, we weren't very used to it in the beginning, but I think it has really helped us. We did a lot of these things before, but it's a way to kind of get it down, get it recorded so that we stay on track. We know, we kind of have a goal. We know exactly where we're going. I think it really helps to not waste.
Yeah, we talked about our class all the time. I mean, if you're working with somebody and your rooms are next to each other, you're constantly talking about class and things like that. But being able to do a PLC in a different area, kind of take you out of your comfort zone and put you in a spot where you have nothing else to work on right there besides your PLC, has been really beneficial. Having all the tools and things right there readily available gives us kind of a clear map, a clear goal, and we're able to work straight to work
Straight to the point.
Yeah, work exactly on what we need to. I think that we have really benefited from PLC, in incorporating things like our Kagan structure stuff in a more specific manner. Like, we know we want to use the Kagan structure, but now we can bounce off ideas like, hey, I used this, it didn't work very well, or I did this instead.
And make it uniform between the two classes.
Especially if we have a same class. Those Kagan structures, that's another thing with the benefit. Teachers always have a bazillion things to do, and that we don't want anything else on our plate. But I think this PLC, when we're able to actually cut that time out for that and focus on it, we're able to put more energy into it. And those Kagan structures and all the other things that we want to implement, we can really embed those into our instruction, and they become natural when we do that, and it's not something one more thing we have to check off our list.
Yeah, I think we usually even go over our allotted time in PLC.
Yes, we do.
We find that we are truly benefiting from it. It does offer kind of a structure, so it kind of guides us in maybe even some places we wouldn't have gone naturally or organically.
Yes.
I do know one thing, I'm the note taker, and I do struggle a little bit just knowing exactly where to fit in or how to express what we're talking about during PLCs.
Yes.
But it's all definitely good information.
She signed up for that job. Yes, I think that is another thing coming from the CTE department. Our language is a little bit different than the other departments, and so finding our way in a PLC and where our content matches the content in the PLC guide is a little bit of a struggle for us, and so it's been nice having the instructional coaches there to kind of guide us through that process this year, and I think it's going to be a lot easier in the future for us.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm Daniel Brown. I'm an English teacher here at OHS, the head of the English department, and I've been here since the implementation of our PLC Plus model. My wife and I moved back here from a different town, and the first couple years our PLCs were there just wasn't much structure to them. We didn't have norms really, we didn't have procedures. Some people had never PLC'd, and with the implementation of this new model, right, the PLC Plus model, it really has changed the way our department in general, how we meet, how we talk, and how we look at things. And ultimately, it all goes back to instruction and how we want it to, we want the procedure to go, really. So a lot of it is changing our mindset, being data driven. And I think as far as my department goes, having that consistent scheduled time every week that we come together, having these phases where each week or each couple of weeks we are transitioning logically between, where do we want to go, what did we just do, how do we assess the learning. It's really been helpful for us to have a structure like that.
I am Mr. Morrow. I'm here at OHS, and I am a part of the U.S. History Department. We have been working with PLCs for approximately 3 years. When we first started, it was difficult because we really didn't know what the expectations were or what the outcomes would be. As we started working through it with our instructional coaches, we learned that it was helping us not only track our kids' scores, but also helping us in the classroom. I feel that year one was kind of getting your feet wet. Year two, we knew what to expect, and the PLC that I happened to be in grew tremendously. And part of that was because of my teammates, if you will, but more so understanding what the structure behind PLC was. And so right now where we're at with PLCs, I feel is very good. Let's see, what are some struggles? Struggles can come when it's time to give a test, because we are now in the process of creating common assessments, and this means that you have to work with your coworkers that are teaching the same classes that you do in creating the test.
So at this point, we pretty much PLC on our own.
It's very natural now. It's not like, oh, let's do part E. We need to do E today, even though we didn't do T last class. So we just we have our own. We go through the cycle, but
We're kind of our own activators now.
Yeah, that's what we are.
Our own activators.
That's our mind. We have our instructional coaches that they facilitate us in a way that, it's our meeting as a PLC, but we have that resource that we use quite a bit actually. And I think probably one of the most beneficial parts of this new system that we have are these data protocol days, where we'll take a benchmark assessment, we'll take a summative assessment, we'll take whatever data we have to look at, and it just gives you a consistent procedure to look at it and make sure that what you're doing, looking for those patterns of successes, patterns of struggle that you can take back to students. And that all sounds like excellent, but when we first implemented it, there were struggles, there were growing pains. Going from a system of yeah, you guys should PLC, to a system that has a lot of structure to it. It took us a year probably to really get comfortable with it. I personally like having I like meeting in our admin conference room. I like having that structure. There's a lot of support in it. And I think that allows us, at least with the English department, we get to focus on the things that really matter for the most part. And I think it's also shown us through these meetings. What are some things we do because we've always done them, right? and how do we alter that? How do we adapt? Because this generation of kids is different than even when I was in school, or even 10 years ago, 12 years ago when I started teaching. The kids were different, and now we're adapting, and these sort of structures are very helpful in the system that's in place now. Once we got used to it.